losing all the wonderful things. Money can't buy a tear comes along the face as you tremble in your own disgrace. If only you could have walked away, then you wouldn't have to be stained with a blemish that money can't wipe clean. While those tears flow, they burn your skin. I turn my head up to the cleanse of the rain. Oh Lord, where you been? How can it ever change? The light in this darkness is all I can see. Will you ever get close? I need you, I need you, need me. They bore holes in your soul, you asked for God, while the darkness comes in and bestows your heart. It's the timeless effort of this drug that's torn you apart. Another look in that mirror, and the dust rolls off your chin. You asking, where did my life end? Now as you sit in a dark lined room full of sin and hate, only now do you want God to appear and forgive your mistakes. He will, of course, but you need to do it in a true way. Otherwise you might as well not play, as that drug makes your heart race with anxiousness and makes you sweaty and blue. Think of this as you spend another night in the cold cell you have now to call home. Could you have lived slow and enjoy the rain to cleanse the nights of your endless pain? Your will is broken and through, bleeding with caramel colored ashes in the floor. You have to stay on those knees to truly feel the true closeness to Him. It's the heart you have to give, otherwise it's just a temporary fix. As you breathe your last breath, as you lie, turn my head up to the cleanse of the rain. Oh Lord, where you been? How can it change? The light in this darkness is all I can see. Will you ever get close? I need you, I need you, Minutes start to slow down and the dust is off your chin. You recall exactly what you did. That ambulance wasn't for you, the blood wasn't yours, the childlike scream wasn't you, it was that little boy. You hid as you stand fastly on this wall of life. Now as you are dying, also do you think you will miss your life? The little girl did not have a chance to even live. It's time to repent as your heart starts to slow. Was it worth all the snow? The clamminess of your skin lies, losing all the wonderful things.
Wow. All right. All right. All right. I'm tearing up over here. I don't know. Whoa. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. I have here with me warning label Nina. Hey, Nina, what's up?
Wait a minute, I'm getting rid of my tissue.
Bro, no joke.
Man, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop bringing me in here playing all these dang sappies.
I mean, I wrote those words were mine. in
Oh
my
my
time
gosh. Now see, that even hits harder.
Those words were were mine in my addiction. And
Yeah.
you know, I wasn't singing it, of course, but she did a wonderful job. Jesus.
Well, Gage, you could have told us that you wrote it.
Yeah, I did write it.
Wow. I tell you what, though, the first time I ever heard Silent Screams, the one that I wrote, after David died.
Yeah.
I mean, and I heard it as a song. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh my God. I mean, and then that little crazy one, Warped and Twisted, and when you hear it like that, it's like it punches at a whole new level.
Of course it does. I was trying to pick which one to choose. I mean, of
How
course I've
many,
been
how many,
sharing.
see, the one that I used, you could only do 2 songs and then you had to pay.
Well, I paid for a monthly thing. It's like $14 or $15
Oh,
a month.
oh no, the one I
So
was using was like 30 something. And I was like, forget that. That'll pay my
well,
water bill.
well, this is like you get, I think, 4 free ones a day. But
Oh, wow.
if you've seen my compulsion, I can't just do 4 a day, Nina. Daddy the addict in me. I found a new toy,
See,
and
that's how I am.
I've been running with it. You know what I mean? I've been running with it. I've been like dabbling in these songs. It's like, whoa. I went
And I'm
into
gonna
my
see, that's usually when I'll start sending out like what I did today is because when the creative juices are flowing and it's like, oh, I got to do something, but you don't want to get out the pain or you don't feel like sitting and writing so that's when I'll go to like the digital art and stuff like that, or I'll do the song thing, but I'm gonna
I
definitely do
have
some.
I don't know how you are as far as country, but you want to hear the country one that has my lyrics in it?
Yes, I want to hear them all.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
To the addicted and uncharmed life of the world, we often want more than the land or body should endure. Then we place blame on others to justify our illicit behavior of our fellow man, only to realize it's our own body or mind that beats out a rhythm. But we will not accept accountability or creed to our awful shortcomings we bring to the table of life. It's not about how to helping purify the world. We sometimes seem preoccupied with destroying it and ourselves in the name of greed and envy, deceit, or false pretense. But again, we rationalize this behavior with a smile or kiss from the neighbor's wife as we juggle the credit card in front of a homeless man, and then wonder why he used to kill all in the name of survival and the venom that bestows your head. It's this head he must crush, because God told early man to do such, to be a reminder of the fruit of good and evil that he shouldn't have touched or eaten. Maybe then we wouldn't be all so full of cynicism and hatred for our fellow man. Leave the hand of the heart-filled desire, lift me up, hear my silent tears, listen to the words I don't say. Can you somehow lift me up with grace? So when you reach into that cup you call life, ask yourself this: is yours really more important than what other souls are starving for? Or can it really buy you into heaven? Or can mend the blemishes and scars inside you? Remember scars. Ask Jesus, I bet he does. Why? be all in vain, as we still wanna suffer with so much pain. Leave the hand of the heart-filled desire, lift me up, hear my silent tears, listen to the words I don't say. Can you somehow lift me up with grace? Leave the hand of the heart-filled desire, lift me up, hear my silent tears, listen to the words I don't say. Can you somehow lift me up with grace?
All right, all right. There we go. There's two of them right there.
Wow.
Kind of goes with what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, it does.
I was early on in my sobriety at that point, if you could tell.
You know, that is so funny because I did some of my best writing when I was in my addiction. Is that how it works for you?
Coming out of it, I was so angry. I was I was so angry and brain going everywhere trying to heal. I was writing like crazy every day. And
Now, when I got clean, that's when I started listening to Linkin Park and painting Linkin Park songs, and that's what got me through getting clean. But now in addiction, man, I could write like you wouldn't believe. I wrote, that one I wrote to my mother. It's 4 pages. I was like, dang, I didn't realize I had that much to say to her.
wow. You want to hear one more? This one's about the YouTube. I'm going to be using these as my intros sometimes.
Hey, did you
because
listen to? I thought the song, that Netflix song that I put with yours,
Yeah.
it goes right along probably with what you're fixing to play.
Yeah, this one's called Into the Shadows. I wrote this one today too.
Oh wow.
To the addicted and unchained, the name 12, the last, is the gauge of the blast. Hear me out, it's all about the game. The YouTube streets ain't got no shame. There are beggars, grifters, betties too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight. 12 gauge, listen up fast. The beat of the heart will melt your cast. It's the crown of the champ, the image of the might. Get your ass ready, because here comes the might. There are beggars, grifters, betties too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight. Listen to the words that run from my mic. There will be knowledge and facts to light. You don't get it, you think I'm the brash. Listen to the ones that you just throw away your cash. 12, 12, 12, can you remember the name? It's about a sinister shadow in the dark to ruin your sleep. With the mares of the night that give you chills, come to the channel. You can get your fears brought to live without the senses making a fight. Your brain beat down from the grifters on these streets. Give the channel a try and dance to the beat of a different drum. There are beggars, grifters, betties too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight. MG and success is what I'm about. It's the honesty and humility without the clout. I chose to be who I am a long time ago. Addiction had me drowning hell on with the show. 12, 12, 12, 12, click, click, boom. Another round for the unconvinced, here it comes now.
law, beggars, grifters, betties too. Just a lot of confusion, whatever it do. From missing kids to people being butchered in the night. Many lost in these chats without a fight.
Yeah, that one wasn't really about addiction, but I was kind of working through the. I guess I had a little bit of energy this morning. What do you think, Nina?
I like that one. I really did like that one. But look, the song that I put for your little maestro goes right
Yeah,
along with that,
I saw that. I saw that. You
and it's
know,
not copyrighted.
yeah. I mean, that's what's cool about this is you can play it and it's not copyrighted because you're the one writing it pretty much.
Right, exactly.
You're the creator.
Right.
And on this website you can also copyright your stuff. So
Oh
nobody
wow.
can use it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was joking with Jeff earlier. I said, you know what? I might write an album. Just not be me singing it or
Did you know
rapping.
that I actually follow a creator that's what she does. She actually has an album coming out next month, and it's all her writings, but AI music and sound.
That's pretty
And and,
badass.
and I mean, she's not an album because I don't think we put albums out anytime, but
Right, right.
you
Well,
know what I'm saying.
thank you for being here tonight, Nina. I appreciate you hopping on the panel at such a short notice. I mean, it's been a wild day on these YouTube streets, hasn't it?
I don't know. I hadn't been on them.
Well, I
I
haven't
was
really,
actually,
but
I was actually on a live at 4 o'clock this morning. So I, I, I slept a little bit.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
I wish
Well,
I
I
was.
wasn't on. I wasn't on panel. I was in the comments.
Oh, okay, all right. So let's get to the topic of the addiction and sobriety. As I was saying a while ago, the first two songs I wrote while I was deep in my addiction and I was struggling to find my footing when as those lyrics were saying, there's a lot of pain in that. There's a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of kind of like Linkin Park. I listened to Linkin Park a lot when I was getting sober too. It's like crawling in my skin. I used to tell people, man, they ask me, how do you feel? I feel like I'm crawling in my damn skin. Like nothing is ever calm. Everything is always just going, going, going. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, but see, the thing too is, I think that's one of the things that people don't realize about getting clean is we're used to the chaos. In
Yeah.
addiction, that's all it is chaos, chaos, chaos. And
Yeah.
so when we get clean, it's like we get bored because we don't know what to do with the quiet.
Like I just told you, I did one of those, just test runs, and it was actually the first one. I'm gonna play it to you. A lot of this is just playing around with the words, but here's one that I wrote, the very first one.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Sitting here pushing this beat while my mind's on these YouTube streets. I listen to the banter, I listen to the calls, but in the end all that matters, 12 never falls. I ran for so long with a turbine in my chest, now just cruising, looking for killers, pimps and swine. I am a headhunter while the streets claim fame. I worry not about the whispers of the lyrical lame. There are many that try to be this, but will never even touch the air. Just remember 12 gauge, got 'em for all the world to share. Hitting hard, leave 'em limp, crying for their place. 12 gauge, got 'em panting, shriveling in their pants. Men are men, but boys get loud. Never forget the YouTube crowd. 12 gotta get blasting while the flame is still hot. Never forget the one place that got all the shots. 12 gauge, leave 'em, yeah, their mouths wide open and a head full of rage. Calling dumb names, thinking they are the crown of the game. You wonder where he gonna go next, who he gonna slay fast. They all running for the info on the next case fast. Elantra bar bushy as it goes, but in the end you all just taking the bout though. even a thing. You hide behind shades, beanies and evaders of fame. You hearing me but you don't get the flow, because you slow as the memory that goes in between the ears of your soul. Remember freak, remember me, remember former has-beens. New one in the mix, built to last, built to destroy your heart when it beats with venom for success. Remember you stepped in the ring with one of the best. In time you won't remember, cause the cases be too loud for you to hear the real. The Geritol kicking in, take your ass to bed. That cough got you choking while you lowing on the mic. Oh hurry up, fake anger, yell at me right. Got women trying to be tough with a raspy curse, but in the end they still got a bad haircut. Who's really got it worse?
Wow.
Never forget, these streets gonna get got. Don't be in the line of the 12 gauge shots. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was the first one. I was playing around with words.
I like that one.
Did you catch any of the
Oh
subliminal
yeah, I
in
caught them all.
there?
The bad haircut and everything.
The dead opera singer.
Yep, buddy. Happy
Yeah,
Yodie.
yep. So I don't know. You know, the thing about addiction, like you were just saying, man, it's a terrible place to be. Being in your mind when you're not stable, being in your heart when your heart's not stable, man, it's a terrible place to be, Nina.
You
Talk to me
know,
about it.
it is a terrible place to be when you realize it's a terrible place to be.
Yeah.
And you know, until a person realizes that it's a terrible place to be, then they'll justify and rationalize to stay in that place.
I mean, I don't know about you, but mine was up and down, up and down, up and down. It was never balanced. It was never a time when I was feeling happy unless I was getting something from the exterior world. And when I got sober, like you said, you're bored and you don't know how to get happiness from within. You're always looking for something out here to make you happy because that's how you did it in your addiction. At least I did. You know, there
Oh
was so
yeah, I
much.
mean, but you got to consider too that that getting clean. I mean, I think I was clean a good year before I felt like my dopamine levels were building themselves up. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
I think I burned mine out a long time ago. I mean, honestly, I hate to say that because you know I didn't ever feel like I had very many to begin with, but the ones that I did, it seems like they're just barely hanging on. You know what I mean? Those little bitty trees up there, barely flickering.
Man, I'll be honest though. I mean, you know, for 16 years I did meth every day. And
Yeah.
so, man, when I got clean, I swear I could have slept for 6 months.
So what was it when you decided to finally say enough is enough? What happened?
Oh my goodness gracious. It was like April Fool's Day, believe it or not. And I went to Marty and we were at my son's house and because we were driving a truck and we were visiting him. And we got into a big argument and everything because, see, with me, the drugs wasn't the problem, being without was the problem.
Right.
That's usually when I ended up in jail. And so I went to her and I told her, I said, you know, I've had the same drug dealer for 10 years. The only way I'm ever going to get clean is to leave Alabama. And she looked at me like, what? You know, look, we just can't get something right now, hon. What you talking about? You know, I mean, we ain't got to go
Right.
to these extremes. Just give me an hour, you know.
Right.
And she looked up and she said, wait. She said, okay, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go to Louisville, Kentucky. And we jumped in April the 7th, 6 days later, with $400 in our pocket. Me and Marty and two dogs hopped in a pickup truck and drove 6 hours to Louisville, and we stayed there 5 years.
Wow. Wow,
So,
that's amazing. It's amazing.
and I mean, it was just after 16 years, it was like I'm just done. I never hit that rock bottom. I never hit that getting sent to rehab. I never lost my kids. I never, so I never, so I mean, I understand rock bottom, but I have to say, for the grace of God, I never did that. I never hit it. It was
Right, right,
just that mine was just, I'm done. And I guess my personality is when I'm done, I'm done.
right,
I mean,
right.
relationships, friendships, when I'm done, I'll turn my back and I will never look back again.
My addiction, it was full throttle. I mean, can you imagine 12 gauge full throttle? I mean, can you see that? Can you see that at all? You know, um, but it was pretty much both ends of the candle were burning as fast as possible. Used it up as quick as I could. I mean, I didn't ever think I'd see 30, honestly. I
Oh,
didn't ever
yeah.
think
I mean,
it was even in the cards. I didn't think, I'm gonna be alive at 30. What are you talking about? I never envisioned after today. I thought, well, I'll
right.
do this all over tomorrow. I might not like it. After a point, I mean, one thing that I want people to know for me, after a point, it wasn't about drinking and drugging anymore. It was about maintaining so I could function.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
don't
I
know if
mean,
you know what that means. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Uh-oh, my
Go ahead.
demon came out.
Thank you, Aquarius. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jeff.
Go ahead, Gabe, because I got to quieten these dogs down.
All right. Well, like I was just saying, it was about maintaining through the day. And a lot of people don't get that. They say, they used to tell me, hey, why don't you just put it down? Why don't you just quit? Why do you love that more than us? Well, because to be honest, now looking back on it, the alcohol never talked back to me. It never told me what bad of a person I was. The drug kept me going. They kept me awake. They mellowed me out, whatever it was. It never seemed to have harmed me, but that was my denial. That was my denial telling me, hey, this isn't doing any harm to you. But it really was. It really was. I had somebody tell me, hey, if alcohol is so great, what has it ever given you? I know that it's taken from you, but what has it ever given you? Has it given you a bigger house, a better car, a better life, a better significant other, more money? And you know what? I was stumped because I could not answer honestly that it had. But get the alcohol and the drugs out of the way, you still are a human being. You still have those isms, right? Early on
Oh,
in
yeah.
recovery. I mean, you know, you just don't go from, okay, I'm a full fledged addict, alcoholic, to tomorrow I'm going to be sober and everything's going to be great and I'm going to know how to live life on life terms.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, is that coming from me?
What?
A big old echo.
I don't hear
Am
it.
I echoing you? Oh, I can't even, hang on.
Okay. While Nina went to do what she had to do, she's having technical difficulties. I guess they heard the echo. I heard you pretty clear, but it is what it is. Um, but like I was saying, once you get sober, a lot of times people expect you to already know how to be a functionable adult, how to be functionable in saving your money, paying your bills, getting up and going to work. But for a long time, you don't know you don't know how to do these things without the chemicals in your body. Because many times, it's not about being high to be with you. Not about being drunk. I never went to work drunk. Okay. Went to high school drunk one time. Worst, worst case of drunk I ever had in my life. I was so paranoid. But that was the only time that I've ever went anywhere drinking. But the other, yeah, I went to work pretty tweaked out. It was going pretty fast, going really fast actually. But anyways, when they say you got to live life on life terms, it's not your terms, it's life terms, meaning that you learn to accept a lot of things that before you fought. Welcome back.
Now then, the echo's gone. Thank you. Yeah, that life on life's terms. Um, they say that God won't put on you more than you can handle, but
Hmm.
I will say that He will take you right to that edge. And sometimes, in order to get you in order, sometimes you have to reach that break you down to build you back up level, I guess.
Right, right.
But
You
now,
know,
as far as my addiction, I mean, I can honestly say that if somebody had asked me, what has it ever done for me? And do not take this the wrong way. I am not at all condoning addiction. But
okay,
if I'm going to talk about it, I got to be honest about it.
of course, of course.
I can't just come on here and tell you that everything about addiction is terrible, you
Right,
know,
right.
because I'd be lying to you. I mean,
Of
if it was
course,
terrible, we wouldn't be addicted.
of course not. Of course not.
And
Go ahead, be
so,
honest.
if somebody asked me that, I would say, it gave me confidence. It gave me the voice that I wanted to have to where I wasn't so introverted and I wasn't so afraid to talk or afraid to do this or afraid to do that. It gave me creativity because I was the promotional director at a movie theater. I mean, and oh my gosh, the creativity. I mean, o- off the charts. I mean, I got a letter from Juliette Conroy at DreamWorks Pictures for the Shrek promotion we did, you know, and yeah, I mean, and so, but I'm going to say this too, that is justification and rationalization, and my addiction lying to me, saying you can't do this without me.
Of
You can
course.
never do. You will never have another promotion without me. And then on
And
the
you
other
know,
side, the other one's going, but you're going to lose the whole damn job if you don't get off of it.
that is so true right there. That is so true right there. But you know
Yeah, I
what?
mean, because even though I excelled at all my jobs, I would inevitably mess them up. It
You
was like,
know,
and I guess that's where I tell everybody I've got a self saboteur because boy, if you can f it up, I will f it up.
it scares me now because as you get older, you forget things. It scares me now because I'll do something and I'll do it correctly. I'll lock the door, whatever. Back when I was speeding so fast, I would be way down there and be like, "Oh shit, did I lock the door?" Have to go back and check the door, walk a couple steps away to come check the door again. I mean, it was just insane. Now I do it. I'm not on anything, but it just freaks me out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean it's like I don't know if you were bad about it, but I would have 15 tasks going at one time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I'll clean my closet out today, but yeah, and then I'd go in there and start cleaning the kitchen cabinets out. By the time you look around the house, it's like, oh, I haven't finished any of them.
Well, you can always tell, the car has the engine out, up on jack stands.
They're out mowing the grass with flashlight.
No, they're not mowing it. They're clipping it with some scissors
Don't say
and a
anything. I have actually done
and,
that.
and a magnifying glass. They're
I didn't do the yard. I did my flower bed with a pair of scissors.
up in the middle of the night with your little nightlight going. I mean, I
And
know some
that
people.
that reminded me of a girl that I helped on TikTok. And because I mean, somebody else saying, "Hey, you're on day 5," that keeps you pumped. And
Right.
so she comes into the live one night, and she was on like I don't know day 32. And she said, "I'm going to beat you before you say it." And I said, "I know it's day 32." She said, "No, I'm going to tell you that I vacuumed today." Now, keep in mind that to somebody else, that statement means nothing. To
Right.
me,
Right.
it meant everything because you don't vacuum. You might have dropped something. You better go carpet surfing, you know. And so she got up and she vacuumed without thinking about it, without worrying about it. And that it brought tears to my eyes because, you know, unless you, if you know things, you know, it wouldn't have that kind of impact. They'd say, "What do you mean you vacuumed today?" Yay. I mean, and you know, the things that we're proud of when we get clean, though, think about it, Gage. She was proud that she vacuumed,
Yeah.
you
You know,
know, and
Nina, I don't know about you, but once I started actually coming out of the haze, I could hear the birds singing. I could feel the breeze. And to normal people, quote unquote normal people, that is normal. They always hear the bird. They always
yeah,
hear,
exactly. We don't hear anything but noise.
no, I didn't hear anything but my own thoughts. I think
And
you're
see,
on to something as far as your channel. What'd you say it's going to be called? Those Left Behind, or your series?
yeah, see, when I why am I echoing again? So when I started TikTok, um, and I found the recovery community and everything, that's when I guess that's when I found as far Dave. I had to find a purpose for David's death. But when I found the purpose for David's death, I also found a purpose and a passion for me.
Right.
And so I don't know, me and another mother, we did a thing and we were talking and crying together and everything. It was live. And I thought, man, that was so cathartic. Is that the word? You know, and because I didn't realize that there's so many out there going through what I was going through, you know. And
Yes.
so I started Those Left Behind due to addiction. And what I wanted to make sure that everybody knew was that losing someone to addiction does not just mean overdose. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean death because,
Right.
you know, I have finality with David, but I have mamas that don't know if their children are cold, hot, hungry, overdosed, alive, whatever, being trafficked, you know, if they're hurt. I mean, to me, that's the worst kind of loss
And you
because
know, I've had
they live their death every day.
exactly very true. You know,
I mean, just
I've had mamas in across the desk crying to me about their loved ones, and you know, the one thing they say is, "Why won't they just come home? Why won't they just come home? Why do
be,
they think that we don't love them? Why do they think that we wouldn't take them back in?" And that's the big question. Why don't you come home?
because sometimes what you're running away from may be at home.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you
Well,
know,
of
now
course,
if
of
you've
course.
got that family waiting on you at home, because I have to admit that the mama I was just talking about, from what I know of her, I don't know her personally, never met her in person, you know, but
Hmm.
she seemed like he would have come from a good family life. Now, could she have been an overbearing, abusive mom, you know, and not show us that side? Of course, you know, but you've got to also always remember that it's not just the broken people that get addicted.
Right. Of
You know, it may start out as
course.
partying, it may start out as, you know, just something like that that leads into taking over.
And most of the time it does, Nina. I used to tell my clients, I'd say, look, when you started years ago, probably you were able to maintain it. And then something traumatic happened in your life that just shifted your whole world upside down. Or maybe you just said, hey, you lost the grip from reality and just dove deep into the abyss because the imaginary line between reality and addiction is very thin and it happens very quickly. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So a
But
lot
so
of
those,
times, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, no. So I decided that I was going to do Those Left Behind every Sunday, and every Sunday I would have a different person. And I'm not going to say parents. I'd say 75% were parents, but I had one that her best friend went to the dope house to get drugs, and somebody busted in and killed them all.
Yeah.
And a lot of people was like, that's murder. That's not due to addiction. Really? If she wasn't an addict, she wouldn't have been at the dope house. So to
But
me,
but you
that's
saying that,
losing
Nina,
someone to addiction.
but you saying that, Nina, to a lot of people, that is cruel and callous and unloving. But you know what? Once you get to the point where you understand what you're dealing with, as far as the addiction is the ugly part, your loved one is totally separate from the addiction. So when you talk to people like that, like I used to tell my client, I'm not talking to you harshly. I'm talking to your addiction because they'd get up and pissed off and they'd want to yell at me and F you and this and that. You don't know me. But I had to tell them, look, I'm talking to your addiction right now because if your addiction doesn't come out and it's leaving you in denial that nothing's wrong, everything's okay, you're going to go right back into your old patterns of living and nothing's ever going to change.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, definitely, definitely. But
Yeah.
dang, okay, so
Hey,
with
Leslie.
so then there's a girl that her goddaughter got hooked, and she became a woman of the night. And when she did, it put her in the line with a serial killer, and she lost her life. And they're like,
Mm,
Nina, you're getting confused. No, I'm not. If she wasn't an addict, she wouldn't be a hooker and she wouldn't be dead. I
right.
mean, to me, it's more than just overdose. It's
I
more
mean,
than death.
a lot of people can't take that bluntness sometimes. They take that for being callous. They take that for being um, angry or controlling. But no, some as they teach you in AA and some of the programs, and that's not for everybody, but honesty is written in the first three paragraphs 5 times. So there has to be a reason why honesty is the most important part of how it works. Because if you can't get honest with you, I'm going to lie to you and I'm going to make you believe it. I'm going to steal everything from you and make you believe you're the problem. Right?
Oh, yeah, we are professional gaslighters. Rationalizers, justifiers, gaslighters, manipulators, connivers, liars.
and and people ask me all the time. I don't know if they ask you, but they say, "Well, how can you tell people are this way or that?" I say because sometimes it's like me looking into the mirror of the past.
Exactly.
They display behaviors that I
That's what,
recognize.
a lot of people don't realize that thing. You can't play, what is it? Don't play the player, play the game or something like that.
Yeah, you can't
And
play the.
all that is, dude, we alike. Don't be trying to one up me or, you know, do something that you think I'm not going to catch on to, because I've already been there and done that. When I was trying to talk to David about the addiction, well, bye, Gage. Anyway, when I was trying to talk to David about the addiction, I would tell him, David, I've already been down the road that you're going. I'm the one that straightened the curves out, you know. But until you're ready, you're not going to listen.
My lights are going crazy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I went poof.
Yeah, you did. I was like, well, I guess he went to write another song.
Yeah, exactly, Jeff. That is one of our first conversations ever. Pretty much was gaslighting. I hope I hope Jeff understands the gaslighting. Um,
Did you know that's
definition
one of the worst fights that me and Marty ever had?
with gaslighting.
Because she said it was this and I said it was that. And I was like, wait a minute, I think we're gaslighting each other.
We're both gaslighting each other right now.
Yeah.
That's what you should have said, right? Yeah. You know it's your damn fault that I'm feeling like this, right?
Why?
Because if you were nicer, then I wouldn't have to yell at you. That
Well,
is
I know, but
gaslighting.
sometimes you just gotta, pull your big boy pants up because that's one thing that and on the 2.5 years of TikTok, and I know that a lot of people say, yeah, okay, she helped people on TikTok. The recovery community on TikTok, oh my gosh, I went to a convention for 2 years in a row in Atlanta of nothing but TikTok recovery creators.
That's awesome.
And it
That's
didn't
awesome.
matter if it was AA, Matt, cold turkey, uh, smoking a joint, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I first started TikTok, that's when the whole, the stigma of Matt was really bad a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so one of the first videos I saw was about, I mean, this girl was just squalling her eyes out because her family was telling her that she wasn't clean because she was on Matt and blah, blah, blah. And I made the comment, you have to be alive to recover. And so that you have to be alive to recover, and those left behind is pretty much what I was known for on TikTok. So the next day, this guy did a video and he put a clip of that. And I was like, what the heck? Because I was just learning TikTok at that time.
Right.
And so he asked me to explain what I meant by that. And so I told him, if somebody had come to me when David was laying in the hospital bed and said, you can either choose an NA, Matt, green, hypnosis, whatever. You got to choose one. I would have looked at him and said, give him every one of them. I don't care. He's got to be alive.
Right.
Can't get him clean if he's dead.
That's a great point. That's a
I
great
mean,
point.
so if you are telling somebody that they're not clean because they're on Matt, and I'm getting chills right now because this is actually a true story. A little creator on TikTok that I just adored. They convinced her that she wasn't clean because she was on Matt. So she chunked Matt to the side and she went and got high and she got bent and she died that night. It killed me because it
Right.
was just
Right.
proof. You have to be alive to recover.
You're so right. You're so right. That is powerful. I wish we could do of those left behind in here. I've always wanted to create a larger addiction channel than a true crime,
Right.
but it doesn't pick up for whatever reason. So maybe we
It
can work on that, Nina.
but the thing about it, Gage, is you got to realize that we're in the true crime community.
Yeah.
If we try to do those left behind, of course we want to stay with our true crime people because some of our
Right.
people may need help and just don't reach out.
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
some of them that I would swear they need some help, okay?
Right.
And
Right.
but then the more you put out, then you come in, you get to be known in the YouTube recovery.
Right. I
Because
don't.
I don't know
I've
if you've
never
checked out
even.
yes, check it out.
I've, I've never even checked out the addiction or the recovery um genre. I might have to do
Really.
that. Never.
Honey, like I said, the one on TikTok, I mean, the conventions that I went to, and this is people coming from California. We had a couple come from over the pond. I mean,
Yeah.
and they would be like 150 people there of nothing but TikTok creators, you know,
Yeah.
and it was just the most awesome thing because all these people, like with us, we get to know each other and everything. And then it's just like once a year, you get to do this big old meet and greet. And it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, and the thing about it was what I always liked about it was all accepting. You know, y- it wasn't like, you can't come here because you're doing this one or you can't come here because you're doing that one. We
Thank you for
accepted
being here, Kim.
everybody.
It is interesting that you were just saying that about about you're not sober or you're not working a program. Just like I said, you can't quit everything cold turkey. It's like if you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict and you're still smoking or vaping, hey, progress rather than perfection, right?
Right. And that's,
Because
that's the thing about it is, people, I'd get messages saying, Nina, I relapsed. And they would be so afraid I was going to be disappointed in them, you know. And I would always tell them that it is not about the fall. It's about the grace of getting up.
right,
I don't care if you
right.
fall 15 times as long as you get up 16.
You're saying some strong stuff. I went to therapy for a year myself, Nina, right off the bat because I was sabotaging my career. I was sabotaging my mental health. I was sabotaging everything because I just could not think of a life with this new person. I hated him. Couldn't
Yeah,
stand him. Couldn't stand him. I could call myself 12 was that person.
right.
Gage is who I became. 12 was the one that I couldn't stand.
Now,
He
see,
was the
mine was
one
right
that,
the opposite. Nina Kelly. Kelly is the old, and Nina is the me now.
and one thing I tell people, you've ever been in that position where you battle with yourself, you got to let one win. I mean, somebody has to surrender. You can't be having two wolves fighting back and forth.
Which
You
wolf are
got
you
to,
going to feed?
yeah, you got to starve one out
Yep.
because, you can't be feeding both of them expecting one to die.
No, because they're going to
Oh,
kill each other.
right, right. And eventually kill you in the process.
Yep.
Sobriety is such a wonderful topic to talk about because, it kind of breaks the monotony of all this other madness that's going on the true crime street. I don't even
Oh
want to
yeah.
get
I mean,
started on that.
I was actually looking forward to doing this because I haven't talked addiction in a long time. I mean, considering that I did it every night. I mean,
Yeah,
but I will tell everybody too that one of the reasons I left TikTok was, I mean, I'm still on it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but as far as like being out there and being a creator and everything, is because with David being considered an overdose. Um, oh wow, that hit hard. Because I don't know, it just reminded me of the day I got the phone call, and it was like you get the worst news of your life, and then you get the best news of your life, and then you get the worst news of your life. Because the first worst news was David overdosed, and he's in the hospital. That's the best news ever, right? He survived.
yeah.
But then you get to the hospital, and they say, "But we don't know how long his heart's going to last." What? What? And I find myself sometimes, and oh my gosh, I know that y'all may not understand this because I thank God every day for the 5 days I had with David. But then I hate myself because what did my baby go through, wondering and being scared of when it was going to happen? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Were you able to stay clean through that?
Yes.
Huh?
I got clean in 2012 and he died in 2019.
Okay.
And I'll tell anybody and everybody, I guess that's the reason that I've always had that soft heart for Kara, is because I don't think I could have gotten high enough.
I get it. I get it.
And plus, I'll be honest with you, it's what killed him. So I have like this, I think it's bigger than a resentment, but it's like I won't disrespect him.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Of course. It totally makes sense.
I mean,
You
like,
know, being there like those songs we're talking about, being there when it becomes just you and whatever it is that you spend most of your time with, but because by that point the party's over, the gatherings at the house are over, the girlfriend's gone. You're pretty much on your own. Either you or one close friend who just doesn't even know you exist because they're dabbling in it just as hard as you. So
Right.
you're there listening to all the thoughts in your head telling you this is the worst it's ever been. You know, I rolled over in bed one morning. I used to work 3 to 11 at a psych hospital. I didn't have to go to work. Perfect hours for drinking and drugging, right? I didn't have
Right.
to go to work till 3 o'clock. So I woke up probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock, turned my head over. I shit you not. It felt like I felt my skull bang against my brain. It was that I was that dehydrated. I was that messed up. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I was too depressed to care, but I wanted to be too high to mask the pain. Like I had to put on a mask by 3 o'clock. Then I had to be the funny guy. I had to be the guy that took care of business while at work. I was a strong guy. I was a problem solver. I was all this stuff, tweaking my balls off, and for what? And for what? For what?
That's, I mean, but the thing about it is we don't realize it at the time. We
I
don't
couldn't
realize it. We're
eat.
just spinning.
I couldn't eat. I wasn't sleeping. I
Right.
thought I was sleeping, but I wasn't. My brain was still going a million miles an hour.
Yep. And there's been times that me and Marty in the truck, we would stay up so many days, so many days. And I look back at it now and I'm like, I cannot believe that we were out on the highway. Because look, she would see like midget cowboys or trees in the middle of the interstate, and she'd just run over them. And I'm like, she was like, "Well, I didn't hear anything, so it must have been my delusion." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" I mean, and then we're out in California, and we ran out, and like I said, my dealer was in Alabama, and we got some off of whoever. And so about 3 hours later, I'm laying in the sleeper and I'm peeing blood. And I'm like, "You better not let me die in California." I mean, she said, "If you die, I'm putting you out on the side of the road. I'm calling your mama and telling her to come get your body."
Right.
And
Right.
I
Right.
swore off of it. We were done. I am not going to die out here. I am done. Honey, we hit that Alabama state line. Hey, Chastity, what you doing, hon?
Did you ever think you'd be clean and sober, Nina? Be honest.
No, no. I never wanted to be, because I convinced myself that it was a better version of me, because, I was all those things that I wanted to be that I couldn't be, you know. But, and then quitting cold turkey, yay, I was clean. My body was clean, but my mind and soul wasn't clean.
Right.
I mean, so,
I used to tell my clients, that's some self hatred right there. It's like you don't have to be high to be around other people. You got to be high to be with you. For first thing in the morning,
exactly,
first thing in
exactly.
the morning, you got to be drunk. You got to be high. You got to be on something. And I mean, to be honest, caffeine is just as addictive as anything else. It's actually harder to kick than the actual drugs at times, it feels like. You know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely. But, the thing about it is like, I get, I don't know if you saw the pictures that I put with my announcement for those left behind, but
Hmm.
David's son, and this just warms my heart because, David's son, he did the font, and it's heartbeat font. So it's a heartbeat. And then you have to be alive to recover. If you'll notice, the flat line is in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the heartbeat's at the end. And that's where that comes from, is you have to be alive to recover. And so you're dead in addiction, and then your heart starts to beat while you're clean. And so he put the flat line at the beginning.
If I was going to ask myself that same question I just asked you, I'd probably answer it the same way.
Do you think so?
I didn't want to be sober.
Exactly.
I didn't want to be sober. I didn't know.
I was good.
I didn't know sober was an option. I really didn't. I didn't have a clue that sobriety was an option for me. Everybody was seeing my addiction but me.
Now, here's what's weird about that, Gage. Nobody saw mine.
Yeah.
No, no, I was clean a year and I went to my mama and my brother and I'm like, I made sure I was clean a year because I wasn't about to go to them and just open everything up and then go right back. You know what I'm saying? And so I sit them down and look, I've been clean a year and my brother's like, you've been what? you know, I mean, and so at the end of it, he looks at me and he says, I'm glad that you're an addict. And I'm like, what? He said, yeah, because it explains those stupid decisions you made.
Yeah. Hey,
And I'm
Mickey,
like,
how are you?
wow. Thanks.
We're like, you didn't know? Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Well, I guess, my family didn't know because, they didn't. My mother's so callous, she wouldn't know if I was dying of cancer. I mean,
Right.
and then my brother, he's such a millionaire up in the electrical engineer department that he ain't got time to worry about his sister being an addict. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was just the black sheep of the family, and hey, if I was alive, that's good. Tell her I said hello. You know,
So I've heard that a lot. I mean, I never felt like the black sheep. I felt like all my life, I just, I guess that's why I was drawn to the Idaho 4 case. And I've said this before. Did you know how, and I'm not going to change it into that, I'm just going to share this little bit. The reason I deep dived so far into it at the beginning was because he was an addict. And I thought to
right,
myself, oh my God, there has to be a correlation here. I
right,
have to, there has to be something. So I, you know, and I felt just like those Kappa talks, I felt like my parents could have cared one way or the other, about me, whether I was here, whether I was there. Everywhere I went, I was invisible. I felt like nobody ever notices me unless I do wrong. So so
if you, that's one of those. If you know, you know.
I didn't know at that point I was an addict though. I was just like, you know, and then, you get older and then you start thinking, I didn't start drinking until I was 18. I was a late bloomer, drinking, drugging at 18. And I went
Golly,
balls to the
well,
wall. I
you
went
know when my
full
addiction started, so
I went full fledged, just like, you know what, I gotta make up some time. And I was so angry at that point, I've never disclosed the anger part.
right,
There's a big difference why. I mean, there's a real reason why that anger consumed me for so many years. But that anger fueled my addiction every day.
oh yeah,
I woke up angry. I went through my day angry. I hated you. I hated me. I didn't like anyone. I just wanted to be left the hell alone. But I hated to be alone. None of it makes sense. Even the way I'm discussing it right now, it probably doesn't make sense.
right,
But that fire was burning me up.
oh
I
yeah,
was
oh
like,
yeah.
but you know what? When you're the sickest, you attract some of the healthiest, most prominent people in the world. I mean, I was having therapists for girlfriends, I was having nurses, all kinds of different professional people. And here I was, sick as hell. Felt like I couldn't keep up, felt like I wasn't good enough. It's like, why are they with me? Let me get these grenades out. Let me blow this all up. That way I can start all over again.
Yeah,
Ever felt that
exactly.
way?
Yeah, that's the reason I think that as an addict, that's one of the big things that comes out in us is that self saboteur.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, when I told you that, meth gave me everything that I always wanted to be. And so when we went to Louisville and I got clean and everything, and, I got, I got the job and I moved up and, I mean, Louisville showed me that I was that person. Because I went to work at an intermodal company. I didn't even know what an intermodal was. I'd been on a truck with Marty, so I knew what trucks were, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
But as
right.
far as intermodal, I was like, what the hell? And, it's the overseas containers. And so I go in as a dispatch helper and everything. And within a year, I'm head dispatch. And so
Yeah.
what I realized about myself was I had a knack for like dealing with customers and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so we had a customer, Master Brand Cabinets, one of the biggest accounts we had, and they canceled one of the locations. They took it completely away from us, so I was down to one location. And so I went to the head person and I was like, "Look, y'all know that I've never been over the account or anything. Give me a chance. Give me a week to get everything straightened out. If you're not happy after that, we'll call it. And how much hell, I was just a dispatcher. I didn't have no right doing that. I wasn't up there in sales or anything.
But
And
that's us. But that's us, Nina.
yeah,
We're so scared of being found out. We're gonna be the best, the overachievers. We're gonna learn everything behind the scenes, so nobody ever know that we don't know what the hell we're doing.
right. And
That's part
so
of the addiction right there.
the good thing about where I was working is it was an owner operator. I mean, it was like a franchise. It wasn't, it was universal, but it was individuals that had franchised into Universal.
Right.
And so I worked for independent. And so after about well, anyway, I took the account over and started doing the charts, blah, blah, blah. And we ended up keeping the account and we got the other account back. And so from building the relationships and everything, I'd call them up and I'd say, "Hey, I, I need some loads." I mean, and they'd say, "Well, we're working with this one over here." But then when they would fall on their face, they would call me and I'd pick it up. I'd pull somebody off of a load. Go get it now. I mean, and
Right.
so by the time within 5 years, I was terminal manager. And I mean, 25 owner operators under me doing the sales and everything. And then I got scared. Where do I go from here? But in the meantime, RJK had a meeting with us and let us know that they were selling out to Universal, which meant that we were going to be a corporate terminal. That means that I have to get hired by them. That means they do a background check. I
And
was scared to,
Nina got scared.
oh my gosh. So what do I do? Yep. What do I do? I call up the regional manager and I'm like, "Hey, I can't pass a background check, but I really want to work for y'all." He was like, "Nina, honey, what are you talking about?" Well, he called me Kelly, but I said, "Well, I'm clean, but I was an addict and I've got some stuff on my record. And, before we go any further, I want to work for y'all. But if I can't, then I need to be finding another job." And did you know they respected me so much for my honesty that they were like, "You know what? You know, they they never held it against me or anything."
I tell people all the time, it's better to be honest. And hell, you're already scared that you're gonna get canned. At least you got a shot. At least it's 50-50. You being honest, right?
Well, the thing about it too, Gage, is what I realized is that made me the person I am.
Yeah.
It's not a shame. It's not something It is me. It's part of me. It's part of who I am. It's the majority of what made me the person I am today.
Of course.
So I don't hold it with shame anymore. And, I used to tell everybody, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, that we teach people how to treat us.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was putting myself around people that treated me the way I felt about myself.
Boom.
I mean, you see what
That's a
I'm
boom.
saying?
Yeah, that's a boom right there.
I deserved this. I deserved that. And so they treated me that way because that's how low I thought of myself. And when I realized that I wasn't that low, it was like, oh, y'all got to get away from me. I can't. And that's when I think that was one of the first times about I want everybody to eat, but they don't have to eat at my table,
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I can choose who sits at my table. I don't have to just accept who
But
comes and plops down.
there's people that walk in the storm and then bitch because it's raining.
Exactly.
You know,
I'll
it's like,
tell anybody, bitch, please, you are stronger than any storm. If you are trying recovery, I'm not going to say you're in full recovery. If you took that first step of picking up a phone and saying, I need help, if you took
right,
that first step to go to a meeting, number one, if you've made that first step, admitting it to yourself,
right. I
it
can,
doesn't,
God can't. Wait, I can't, God can. I'll let him.
yeah, you got to let it go.
Let
And
go, let God. Right.
yeah, oh, and that's hard. That's hard for somebody like me. Let me
Hey,
tell you,
I was gonna touch on that, Nina. I was gonna touch on that right quick. When there's a lot of times when people would just tell me early on, just pray about it, Gage. Let it go. Let go, let God. Well, I don't know this God guy that you are talking about. I mean, I know Jesus on the cross. I mean, my grandma was Catholic. I saw all the little statues. I mean, I was around it, but I didn't know this God that y'all are talking about. Hell, I didn't even care about my own earthly father. How was I ever going to give my life to something greater than 12? Right?
right. I mean, that's the thing about it is you got to consider I didn't get saved until 2024. I mean, 2023. I mean, I was one of those that if I couldn't see it, touch it, taste it, whatever, no, didn't exist. Because with the life I've had, and this was me, I guess, before this is in the process of getting rid of that victim card, and so, at that time, it's like, God, look at the life I've lived, I'm the victim, oh, poor pitiful me, and then when you throw that victim card away and everything, I mean, I went through David's death, and that's when I started leaning on God. And I was surprised at that because instead of blaming him, I leaned on him.
Hmm.
Because to me, God didn't take David. David's free will took David.
Right.
And so even though I felt that closeness to him, I really hadn't did that. Okay, you got the reins. I was still the driver. And so one night on a live, I never did NA, I never went to a meeting or anything, but the Uverse Bible app, I started doing all kind of the study groups, the studies and stuff on there, and that became my going to a meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so one night on a live, I was reading from a Broken Crayon Still Color, and it was a story, and the name of it is Broken Glass. And I was reading, and oh my God, Gage, just squalling. I'm talking like runny nose, ugly crying, trying to read, And I mean, I'm on a live on TikTok. Everybody's watching, and I just keep going with it because I have no clue what's going on. All I know is there is something inside me that, as much as it's hurting, it's freeing me. Does that make
Right.
sense?
And
And
that's the scariest part right there. Is when
exactly. And
you're
it was
hurting
like,
so bad, but you just got to keep tearing that skin off, tearing all that old part of you off to get to the rebuild, to get to the good stuff.
Right. And see, I had never done that. And so somebody was in the comments, and they started telling me, just let it go, Nina, because they picked up on what was going on, you know. And
Right.
I mean, since then, and so the type of personality I have, there was some stuff going on, and one of the mamas that had lost her daughter, she would say, "Sit still and let God. Sit still and let God." And I'm like, I would sit in my bedroom and talk to God, and I'm like, "Look, dude, this, if you would let me do this, we
Right.
could tell everybody off, settle it, cut our ties, and be done with it. We don't have to go through all of this of sit still and let you be God. You know,
Right.
I mean, just do it my
Just
way
sit
this
right
one
there.
time.
Let me tell you my plan. Just sit right
Yeah,
there.
just hear me out.
You know,
But
Nina. Nina. I had a sponsor. They told me one time. He said, "You know what's wrong with you?" I said, "Oh, damn. Here we go." It just completed my fourth step. I was like, "Oh, he's about to tell me this is the fifth step, right?" No, he said, "I'm going to be honest with you. You know what's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, a lot." He said, "No, I'm being serious." He said, you haven't surrendered." He said, "You're walking it, you're talking it, and you're experiencing a little freedom, but you haven't let go." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, boy, imagine a 16 penny nail sticking out of a chair." He said, "How bad do you want recovery? How bad do you want a new life?" He said, "You know what you do? You get as close to that nail as you can, and you jump up and you claim, 'I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore.' And then, you're good until the newness wears off, and then you're off and running again." He said, "You know what? When you sit on that damn nail, excuse me, that's when your recovery is going to begin." And you know what I did?
that's I've never heard it put that way.
Had to
But
sit
see,
on that nail.
that's what I was saying a minute ago about my brain was clean, and my body was clean, but my brain and my soul wasn't, because I had never done any kind of, oh, look at me, I'm the problem. You know what I'm saying? I was just clean. I mean, and
Yeah.
so about a year before I got saved, oh my gosh, that year, I may as well have been using. I was clean, and I learned that year what a mental relapse was,
Yeah.
because I was going right back into everything. I was fighting with everybody. I was, honey, you think some of my lives on here I've had to delete? Let me tell you, luckily on TikTok they go away, because some of my lives have been just, oh my gosh, over the top. Because I knew, on TikTok
Do you
you can
really
you can
you
watch from the
realize who you're
window.
you realize
You
who you're talking to?
But see, that's the thing about it, is I knew that people in the hallways that they watched and everything, but it was like when I got in my tirade, I didn't care. Well, then, I wake up the next day and it's like, Nina, Kelly, what have you done? And stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, well, thank God it's gone,
Right,
But I
right.
realized what a mental relapse was, and I'd always heard it, but I never really knew what it was.
That's why I try so hard in this community. I mean, sometimes I slip. Today I had a relapse. I went all aboard. 3 shorts, couple posts in the community tab, rap songs. I mean, I OD'd today, okay?
Right.
On my ego. My ego and my head were playing games with me today.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but you know what? It irritates me so much because I used to be that person. And I've never understood how people cannot see when people are saying, well, this, that, and the other about you, how you can be so callous and not care.
Yeah.
especially when you're hurting people. You get what I'm saying? Words
Oh yeah.
do hurt. Just because you say, in my opinion, does not mean it does not hurt somebody somewhere.
Definitely.
You know?
Yep.
I never said in my opinion in my damn addiction. It was F you and you don't like it, blah blah blah. And this you can only imagine, right? You can only imagine.
Well, I mean,
But
that's I totally get that too because one of the things too about it gave me the confidence and stuff was I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof too. And so, I'm out on the truck with Marty and we're in the truck stop, pouring down rain, it's cold. And I see this car, lets a girl out and she goes truck. And I'm like, what the heck? That guy just let her out. And Marty explained what she was doing. I was like, what? And he's sitting in a warm car? And she said, yeah, why? I got out of the truck and I went over there and I knocked on the window. He rolled the window down. He said, yes. I said, do you know that lady up there that's going truck to truck? Yeah, I brought her. I said, I know. I watched you put her out in the rain and the cold. And he said, why? And I said, well, I just wanted to make sure that she's okay because she's going truck to truck. Yeah, she's hunting her husband to get some child support. She don't know what truck he drives. I mean, I said, look, here's what we're going to do. Since you're in this warm car dry, you're going to drive up there. You're going to pick her up and you're going to put her in the warm car and you're going to get her dry. And then you're going to leave. He said, yes, ma'am. And they did it. I got in the truck and Marty was like, what did you just do? And, but I was stupid like that. I mean, right.
Nina, I have put my hand through a passenger side glass, was rolled up. I put my hand all the way through it, grabbed the guy by the throat, pulled him out, and commenced to regulating the situation. Yeah, I get that craziness. I really do.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you finally realize that all you're doing is beating yourself up by,
Oh yeah.
you
That's the
know,
abuse. That's the abuse.
you
Instead
may
of
be
abusing
doing,
yourself, instead of
I
abusing yourself with substances, you're abusing yourself with other people.
I mean, when I got put in the Nashville jail for 10 days, my son, when I got out, he said, you've become the abuser. I was like, what? And did you know that's the last time I ever raised my hand to anybody? I mean, because
Really?
that hit hard. I mean, for my son that went through that abuse with me to look at me and say, I've turned into the abuser.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's when I started leaning in man, I'm really mucking my life up. And, my kids are grown, but I'm still mucking them up, because you'll hear me say 1,000 times, I never lost my kids. That didn't stop me from being a piece of shit mama. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but in my addiction, I see everybody losing their kids and going to jail for stealing and going to jail for drugs. And I didn't do none of
Right.
that. So, hey, I've got mine under control. I'm a functioning addict, you know,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
realizing that my kids were living pillar to post and it was what mama wanted and how mama wanted and when mama wanted because that's the addict in me, you know. But hey, I'm a good addict because I never lost my kids.
Isn't that crazy how we do that with every area of our lives if we're unhealthy? We make
Right.
excuses. Well, at least I haven't done this. At least I haven't done that. The
Yeah.
operative word is yet. Yeah.
That's like I said a few minutes ago, I never hit rock bottom. And maybe me not hitting rock bottom, maybe when David died, I don't see, I mean,
Yeah. I
that,
see it.
yeah. And I mean, you consider that in 2012, I got clean. So that changes your body. 2019, David died. God, I can only tell everybody that definitely changes your whole insides. And
Of course.
then I go through menopause.
I mean, without getting into that case, does it infuriate you the way the parents are portrayed?
Oh my God.
How
Come
people
on,
talk
Gage.
about
You're the one that has been beside me on my lives.
does
I
it
mean,
infuriate you though? Like
it's
when you
like,
hear
how?
people
How
call
can you?
them liars and all this other stuff?
How can you sit there and pick apart a grieving father's interview and try to make it into something that you want it to be for your narrative and make him into a person you want him to be or a monster really because if he was guilty of the things that they say he was guilty of, then he's a monster.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you imagine people doing that to you when your son passed away? How that would be so. I don't know. I don't see you like. I
the
mean,
thing
there.
about it is nobody had to do it to me, Gage. My own guilt and regret ate me up.
Right.
I was clean when David died. I didn't have anything to do with doing drugs with him but to me, I introduced him to him
Right.
because I was a meth head,
That makes sense. That really
you
makes a
know.
lot of sense.
And so if I didn't bring it into their lives, but I brought it into their life because their mama's a meth addict. Okay. I mean, so it's in my kid's life. I can't pussyfoot around that. Just because I never did it in front of them or anything like that, that didn't make it right. I was still a piece of shit mom that brought something into their lives that shouldn't have been there.
Did you ever go to Celebrate Recovery? I did.
I've never been to anything. I've never even been to therapy.
Yeah, I went to Celebrate Recovery. That's a good one if you're at that spiritual part of your life and I mean they touch on all areas.
If I
Of
went, it would have to be something like that because I know with NA it's that higher power, and I understand that because there's so
Mhm.
many people and I didn't realize that until I got into recovery, that people have been tortured by religion. And I never
Yep.
knew that. And when somebody explained to me the stigma of God, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. I mean,
Yeah.
that, and so I understood it, but I say God too much that, I mean, I can't, I can't make myself go with the higher power thing.
Right.
And
Well, Celebrate Recovery works for some. Like you said, whatever works for you,
we'll
progression
see
rather than progression rather than perfection. You
if
know what I
we,
mean?
if we, if we do decide to do something with, you know, further with addiction, I would like to incorporate the U-verse studies into it because I said something one day because on the lives, they would be reading from the big book or they'd be reading from the what is it? I don't know, but anyway, and it got to where they were accepting me that they would ask me to read from the study I was reading. It wasn't anything but it's a study in the U-verse,
Right.
at the Bible. And so when they would be reading, like their NA stuff, when they'd get finished, then they would get me to read. And that became my program, I guess. And to me, it works because even though it's in a spiritual realm that, people may be leery of, it's more of inside you.
Right. Right. I mean, honestly, hopefully, getting sober for people isn't scary. I know it was for me. I mean, like we've discussed tonight, a lot of times you don't want to get sober. Sometimes people have to go to jail to get sober. Sometimes people have to go to prison to get sober. I hope that people don't have to do that. But it's hard as hell to do it alone. You can't just do it cold turkey, especially if you're hardcore drinking, drugging. Go to rehab. Let them watch
Um,
you.
the thing about it today is we were losing a beautiful soul every 11 minutes. Today it's every 7.
It's
So
terrible.
what what may be a relapse to some is death to others.
Right.
to where now, used to when we were doing recovery, like helping people and stuff like that, it was, we just got to get them clean. We just got to get them clean. Today, we just got to keep them alive.
Right.
I mean, fuck recovery. I mean, we'll worry about recovery while we keep you alive. I mean, and Jimmy, I love my Jimmy. He's like, he called me mama. And so he would never take the place of David, but I knew that David approved of the relationship. And because, I mean, I love Jimmy just, I can't love him anymore if I had to give birth to him. And so he went missing. And he was recovering from fent. And so to me, a relapse on fent, you're asking to die, you know. And
Right.
he's in Maine and I'm in Alabama. And he calls me one day and lets me know that he has relapsed. And I'm like, okay, it's okay. And he said, Mama, I don't know what to do. And I said, it's okay. I'm fixing to hop on a plane, you know. So another friend of mine was in Boston. So I was like, okay, I'll fly to Boston and we'll go to Maine and get him. We'll bring him back to Boston to the motel and we'll get him through his withdrawals and everything. Because, coming off fent, that's some sick. I mean, they can't do it all, you know. And then we'll get him to rehab. And before I could go, he ended up in the hospital. And I was so devastated that I get a phone call, and one of the mamas that we'd been talking to for over a year that we lost our kids and everything, her daughter had just overdosed. She's in Nebraska.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
okay, it's okay. I'm coming to Nebraska, you know. And all of a sudden she's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll be a bitch, please. You're on your second child. You can't do this. You know, And so as I started watching and everything, I'm like, there's something not adding up, you know. So I'm going live one night and I get a message that tells me to take my video down because it was a video that I did in honor of her daughter, telling me to take my video down because it's a lie. Both her daughters are alive. Now I'm on my camera and I'm like, what? You know, and I do my live and everything. And I go to talk to her and she's like, that's just somebody that's after me. It's not true, blah, 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 And I'm like, so of course, me doing the research, I told her, I said, I want their names. I've got to do this. Oh my God, Gage, it was lies. Her daughters had beaten that generational curse, were in colleges and just living the best life ever and succeeding at it. The picture that she gave me to honor her daughter, she got off of a Google search. And it was an award she won in high school. She didn't tell what the picture was. So now I've got Jimmy that's in the hospital, and now this woman has been lying to me over losing her kids. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. And that was in this year of me being in mental relapse and everything. And I think that sometimes what God does is he chased me for 54 years. And finally it was like, bitch, you're going to sit still and you're not going to fight it anymore. And that's finally when I was on that live. And that's when he said, there's the moment.
Yeah.
But the thing about helping people, I don't know how it is for you, but like those left behind helps me heal because I'm helping others heal.
Well, I have two people that help people. There's the professional me, and then there's me. They're one and the same.
Yes.
But the only difference is the one out here that's not the professional in the office is I don't give you advice unless you ask me for it. I don't solicit suggestions unless you ask me for them. And once you stop following what we decided to do, I quit messing with you.
Right.
You know, there's very strong boundaries. So, I mean, I'll help anybody. But don't lie to me. Don't deceive me. Don't be two-faced. Don't be talking about me behind my back. You know, all that stuff. I mean, but
Well, I mean, the thing about it though is, wow, that thought just went right out of my head.
I think we're getting to a stopping point because I'm getting kind of tired. I got to go and eat something. I think it's raining here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's raining here.
But I really appreciate this tonight. I'm going to play that song one more time, Nina, before we sign off.
Oh, you need to oh no, I can't tell you what to do. I was going to say, when you get ready for Maestro, you should play the video.
You're a fast learner, Nina. The song's name is called Need You, Need Me.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
listen to it.
Losing all the wonderful things money can't buy, a tear comes along the face as you tremble in your own disgrace. If only you could have walked away, then you wouldn't have to be stained with a blemish that money can't wipe clean. While those tears flow, they burn your skin. I turn my head up to the cleanse of the rain. Oh Lord, where you been? How can it ever change? The light in this darkness is all I can see. Will you ever get close? I need you, I need you, need me. They bore holes in your soul, you asked for God, while the darkness comes in and bestows your heart. It's the timeless effort of this drug that's torn you apart. Another look in that mirror, and the Was it worth all the snow? The cleanliness of your skin lies losing all the wonderful things.
Wow. Nina,
Yeah.
are you there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty powerful because you know,
Ooh.
David thought he wanted to die. He was that miserable until he was laying in the hospital bed and realized that he had already made that deal with God. And that's when the bastard wanted to live. I mean, and I'm like, son, I mean, could we not have made this decision a couple of days ago? I mean, and I know
Right.
I'm making light of it, and I don't mean to, but it's like, don't wait until you're waiting on your heart to slow down. Don't wait. You got to do it
Great,
now.
great message. Great message.
So
We got
thank
to
you for
do this.
that.
We got to do this again, Nina.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I can talk addiction all the time.
Well, me too. But we got to find our audience. We got to find our audience.
Oh yeah, we'll throw these in on the. We'll just keep throwing them and in our hashtags we'll just put recovery addiction and see if it
Yeah,
leads us
maybe it'll grow, right?
right. And I mean, that's the thing about it is sometimes I still put hashtag those left behind, hashtag you have to be alive to recover, and hashtag chosen family because I choose who sits at my table now.
JB said maybe once a week would be awesome. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
we
do
should do
too.
that.
I mean, but that's the thing about it is when you realize that you don't have to take just somebody sitting at your table. Bitch, please, I ain't moving the chair. You ain't sitting at my table.
Right, right. Well, you guys have an awesome evening. Take care of yourselves and be your
Yes,
best friend.
Suzanne, it definitely touches. She said she touches it some way. Read that. I'm sorry, I'm looking up.
I think addiction touches every life in some way. You have an audience.
There you go.
Thank you so much for that, Suzanne. You guys take care of each other and be your best friend tonight. If you're battling with something, try not to beat yourself up and give yourself some grace, because sometimes that heals the deepest wounds. If you're holding a grudge, like Nina says, you know, put that aside and just put your pride aside. This ain't no dress rehearsal. We only get it once. Go out and live it. Y'all be awesome. Thank you, Nina. Anything you want to say to the chat before you
I'll tell
hop
anybody and
off?
everybody to remember to give yourself the grace you give others.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm not going to maestro it up tonight because I just played that song, but you guys be awesome. And we're out of here. Bye
Oh,
bye.
Mickey. Bye.